Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And in nickel and diming news, can we actually reverse this? Now, what got me thinking about this, and it just seems like we're being squeezed left and right for every last little bit of money that we've got when we're buying products. HP is the one that got me thinking about this because we've had some recent news this past week that really is concerning. Now, HP, quote, sought to take advantage of customers' sunk costs, end quote. That's what printer owners are claiming this past week in a class action lawsuit against HP or Hewlett Packard. Now, lawyers responding to the plaintiffs or representing the plaintiffs, were responding in an Illinois court to an earlier motion to dismiss the whole thing, which was a January lawsuit that was filed. Now, among other things, the plaintiff's filing stated that printer buyers, quote, never entered into any contractual agreement to buy only HP branded ink prior to receiving the firmware updates, end quote. They also allege that HP broke several anti-competitive statutes, which include, according to the plaintiffs, and I quote, bar typing schemes and certain uses of software to accomplish that without permission that would monopolize an aftermarket for replacement ink cartridges when these results are achieved in a way that takes advantage of customers' sunk costs, end quote. Now, if you're not familiar with sunk costs, it's simply this. It's an investment that a person makes, basically, or rather an investment that you've already made that you can't recover. So, well, I bought the HP printer, I can't return it, so I've already paid for it and I'm stuck. Now, in a business sense, that's also known as retrospective cost. Now, sunk cost, though, oftentimes leads to sunk cost fallacy. And this is where, in my opinion, HP is trying to get everybody, because a sunk cost fallacy is a fallacy that is based on the premise that committing to the current plan is justified because resources have already been committed. So the consumer is thinking, well, it sucks, but I've already bought this HP printer, and so I've already invested money into this, and so by virtue of that, I'm just going to buy these HP branded cartridges and ignore the aftermarket because that's what I'm now required to do. But that mistake can result in improper long-term strategic planning decisions based on short-term committed costs. So if the person did the math and said, well, the cartridges for, another brand cost this much less over a year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm going to save money. And the life expectancy of the printer is 5 years, whatever it is. So people aren't thinking about that because, again, you've already committed cash. So to backtrack, buy a new printer, and then start buying a different ink brand, even though it's cheaper in the long run, people just keep buying HP. I think, my opinion, that's where HP is going with this. So back to the case, which began in January. The plaintiffs are arguing that HP issued a firmware update in late 2022 and early 2023 that they allege disabled their printers if they installed a replacement cartridge that was not HP branded. So they are asking for damages that include the cost of their now useless third-party ink cartridges and an injunction to disable that part of the firmware, basically that prevents third-party ink use. So let's discuss HP's response to this, because we've got to be fair here. They're getting sued. They get their day in court. So in a March filing, HP claimed it, quote, went to great lengths, end quote, to let customers know its printers are intended to work only with cartridges with an HP security chip, end quote. I do not know what those great lengths were, but nevertheless, that is what they are claiming. So the plaintiffs say that it uses software, or rather HP uses software updates to block consumers from using cheaper rival cartridges in HP printers. HP characterizes this as a quote-unquote dynamic security measure to prevent the use of third-party printer cartridges that copy HP security chips, i.e. cloned or counterfeit cartridges, end quote. Quote, again, HP does not block cartridges that reuse HP security chips, and there are many such options available for sale, nor does HP conceal its use of dynamic security, end quote. In other words, you've exhausted those cartridges, you might have sold them somewhere or sent them somewhere to be recycled, and a third party said, oh, these are genuine HP chips, we're going to refill the ink cartridges and resell those, and HP saying, we don't have a problem with this. Continue. Now, HP also added that their printer owners can't claim damages for being overcharged under federal antitrust laws because consumers who buy products from an intermediary can sue the manufacturer for injunctive relief under those laws, but they can't sue the manufacturer to recover damages resulting from an alleged overcharge. So another quick legal definition, and my mother would be so proud because I'm a lawyer now, I guess. Injunctive relief, which is also known as an injunction, is a remedy that prevents a party from doing something or requires them to do something in a certain way. Injunctive relief is generally only available when there's no other legal remedy or irreparable harm will result if the relief is not granted. In other words, HP is saying there are plenty of options out there, so you can't come after us. Quote, none of the named plaintiffs allege that they purchased printer ink directly from HP after receiving a dynamic security firmware update, end quote. And that's their position, meaning, hey, you bought these ahead of time. That's not our problem. It's our software, our hardware to manage. HP also said that plaintiffs, quote, hadn't plausibly alleged that HP acted without authorization or exceeded authorized access when the software tweaks came through. Now, for the record, HP's CEO, Enrique Lores, has also basically publicly made no secret whatsoever that he is trying to pull customers into a print subscription business model aside from the traditional, outside of the traditional, where you just buy the printer and you use it till the wheels fall off and you buy ink for as long as we support it. So that's the backdrop. And it seems like this was a direct attempt by consumers to try and break the ecosystem of HP by acting as essentially HP customers have for decades. The aftermarket for ink and toner from third-party suppliers has always been around, but HP is attempting to force the issue by locking their printers to only use their ink and toner, which is usually way more expensive, but overall trying to force everybody into basically a monthly pay model subscription, which is more expensive over time. Now, this isn't new. The biggest glaring example in the tech field is Microsoft. When Microsoft basically moved its standalone Office suite into the Office 365 model, pretty much the entire world followed suit. And you can buy a copy of Office standalone, but it's crazy expensive and just doesn't make sense. But that's kind of the issue, right? Because we used to have a copy of Microsoft Office for years. Like you were on Office 2003 and you kept it till Office 2010, skipping 2007, et cetera, et cetera. You had Office 2010 and you kept it till Office whatever, right? And so by virtue of that, they have drastically Microsoft has sped up essentially the planned obsolescence of that. No longer can you use that indefinitely. They're making changes to intentionally force you out or stop that product from working and plugging into the Office 365 cloud. Now, on top of that, and outside of Microsoft, one-time payment features that used to come in cars, for example, are now going subscription as well. Do you want heated seats in your BMW? Now it's a subscription. Previously, you would simply buy that with the car and you could flip a switch and warm your butt. Now, if you don't pay for it, they unlock it. And this is where car manufacturers are going. As cars become more smart, now you're saying, oh, great, the car is $30,000, but if you want a little more, it's going to be another, $50 a month or whatever it is. That's the problem with this. Now, on top of it, it seems like we're also being bled in the name of corporate welfare as well. Look at Starbucks' tip model. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I love my local Starbucks. Everybody is friendly. I know a lot of people by name there, but Starbucks is basically fast food. I hit a drive-thru. I almost never go in. And while they have comfy chairs and they want us to sit there, overwhelmingly, people are lining up in their cars to just hit and run like a McDonald's or a Burger King. But now they've added tipping. And so that overpriced $5 coffee is now $8, and after, let's say, basically brief complaints in the press where it was like, oh my God, tipping is getting out of hand, we all just took it. We all just settled in. And I think that's one of the big issues that we've got is complacency. Now, you can look at the psychology behind something like tipping. It affects me too as well, where it's like, well, I really like the barista. He or she is always very friendly and all of that. And I know they're not paid that well. And so, yeah, I'll flip them a couple of bucks every time I go because it's no sweat off my back. But if I'm getting 10 coffees a month, now it starts adding up. Or maybe I'm buying continuously even more than that, and some people do. That's an issue. And so really when it comes down to is essentially corporate welfare in that sense. Starbucks should just be paying their staff better. If they paid them $5 more an hour, for example, which would be a huge improvement over what they've got right now, that basically would be relief to all of the customers who may come back for more or may have a better reputation or attitude towards Starbucks. So I think these are the balance things. I don't know if we're going to be able to get rid of this, especially if we're sitting there and saying, gripe, 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 moan, moan, moan. Just is what it is, and I can't do anything. And that sucks when it comes to costs. That sucks when it comes to sunk cost fallacy. Sucks when it comes to electing a leader. It sucks for everything. And so let's make sure that we are not being complacent on these kinds of things because like HP, the last thing I want to do is get stuck into a model where, let's say, I'm paying $500 over 3 years for a $250 printer and let's say $100 worth of ink. And that's where we're going. And that's where we're heading. And the entire industry understands, well, if everybody's doing it, then nobody can go anywhere. And is that a monopoly in and of itself, even if they're competitors? I'd be curious to know what the law actually thinks, because I'm not a lawyer, but apparently I play one on the internet. So you let me know. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. And please stop nickel and diming us if you're in charge. Take care.